So today I am populating Big Talker PCBs. So this is Big Talker, so this is basically a double tremolo pedal. What does that mean? Well, it's two channels of tremolo that are independent from one another. Now, you could have them in series or parallel. That means, does it run from one? Do they like run simultaneously together in parallel, i.e. at the same time on different channels and then get blended together back at the end? Or does it run into one and then into the other? And this one is the latter. It's in series, so you have audio signal coming through a preamp, which has quite a lot of gain, to be honest. And then you run that into your first tremolo, which has a speed control, a depth control, and a little toggle switch, which can select between the square wave, which has the speed and the depth control, and you can just switch it and it goes to a set speed random wave, and it creates some random, and it kind of is really good at giving life to synths and pads, and like I find myself quite often getting stuck in like pad sounds on guitar, and creating these like really lovely textures. But then where does it go from there? And Big Talker is really great at kind of creating some movement in places where there isn't very much, because you've gotten stuck in this like really lovely sound or this feeling or this mood, and and you can't get out of it because it's just too nice. You just want to stay there. Well, Big Talker's really, really good at creating that movement without kind of diminishing the feeling itself. Obviously, you have the random wave there on that first channel, and that creates, obviously, a kind of a flow, a movement. Or you obviously can have the kind of more regular LFO on off, on off, on off, on off, on off square wave pattern. And then on the second channel you have your same setup as before, a square wave with speed and depth control. And then what comes out on the other side, then you have a toggle again, which switches between your square wave, but it goes into an envelope controlled tremolo speed. So your tremolo speed gets controlled by your input signal. So I'll put the bulb in now. So when you play, obviously you're not going to see it light up right now, there's no power, it's not all hooked up. But when you play, you see this bulb here. See that bulb light up, and you play, and the bulb is on while you're there. And as you let your signal decay, obviously the light bulb slowly kind of decreases its brightness. Or you can do it quickly, similar sort of thing in Falling Man, actually. And as you change your playing, you change the speed of the second LFO. And it's as simple as that, really. You can set the kind of a master speed for that second channel, and after setting that master speed, you kind of can play within the parameters, and then within the kind of capabilities of it, I suppose, you can set it from sort of just on the edge of ring mod, which is such an interesting sound, without going kind of crazy full ring mod. You get some like really cool textures in there, and they can be really subtle as well. I think that's the thing with ring mod, is that it's just such an intense effect. I never find something musical to do with it, and that's really kind of what it comes down to. Can it actually be made into something musical or interesting or creative, or that captures the mind or soul or whatever of somebody? And instead, you can like dial that depth in of it, and it becomes like a really interesting kind of warbling movement in the amplitude domain rather than the pitch domain. Like, it's obviously not a vibrato, it's a tremolo. I've not seen many pedals that do it quite in that same way. But yeah, that's sort of the long and short of it. There's not an awful lot more to be said, apart from, what is a random wave. And it's not really a random wave, there's no such thing. I suppose you can take random from a noise signal, but it's always kind of technically pseudo-random, which means it's about as close as we can get to random without actually achieving it. And it's actually just a blend of 4 different square wave oscillators. And when you're blending 2 square wave oscillators, you get a very repeatable pattern, which I love, which is kind of the equivalent of leaving both of the 2 tremolo channels in their square wave mode. And obviously then you can tweak the speeds of those, and it's such a cool effect. You get this like weird warping time, I don't know, like it's like we're playing with like its own time signature almost. And you kind of have to follow it, but then you can play to it. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it's really interesting, and I love that effect. It's not a pedal for people that like tap tempo, let's put it that way. But if you're willing to kind of lean into the madness of it and play to the pedal a little bit, you get some incredible effects. And then, and I didn't explain, I suppose, the envelope filter very much in terms of the actual effects you can achieve. You get these, like, where did it come from? Well, the best example I suppose I can give of it is the original crux of the idea, which was it came from a 90s dance track, or at least one of the sounds off a 90s dance track by Olive, and song's called You're Not Alone, and it's got these amazing sort of production sounds, like synth with automated tremolo speeds, and you gotta kind of hear it to really know what I mean, but it's basically like a synth stab, might even be noise, to be honest with you. It's got a bit of a pitch, and then it kind of slows down, and you get these kind of like very like weird kind of icy synth noises, which are kind of decreasing in speed, and you can only get it by like automating these things on a piece of software, or obviously with an expression pedal on the speed control of a tremolo. And I just loved it. I've loved it, when I was younger, and that's kind of where the idea came from for the pedal. I love this. I love this track so much that I had to make a pedal that goes with it and complements it, and that can kind of create that for somebody live on stage. But it's not like just about these kind of like big intense stabs sounds and having this big long trail off of a synth sound on your guitar or whatever. You can create some like really beautiful sounds when strumming, and just kind of very subtle time changes in the tremolo almost kind of unnoticeable, but creating movement in a kind of a static chord progression, let's say, you can create some really some really cool sounds. I should do some more videos so people know what it's actually capable of. But yeah, it's a very versatile pedal. I think in a way as well, it is a pedal which works beautifully with other pedals. If you put Big Talker in front of or before a reverb or a delay, for that matter, you get some incredible sounds. Like delays kind of like running into it, spluttering around, and then forcing the speed to kind of, in the dynamic envelope mode, forcing it to kind of increase and decrease and speed up and slow down. And then equally with the reverb, if you have a reverb before it, you get some just like absolutely intense tremolo effects, because of course you're cutting up, a much more kind of consistent signal than simply just a guitar sound. You've got like a bed of reverb underneath it, and it's quite versatile in that way. And that, I think that's kind of what I was getting at before there, that it is a pedal which is like, it works on its own. It's really interesting to kind of play with those double tremolos and like the intertwining, the interplay of the two tremolo speeds, for instance, when they're in square wave. It's also great to, having that random wave to create random movement in, something which is not changing very much. But equally, it sort of becomes yet another entirely different pedal when you combine it with, say, a reverb or a delay, or when you combine it with like a really heavy distortion. Like all of a sudden you have these incredible kind of like insane punky industrial tones and sounds. And perhaps I should do a few more demos on the versatility of the pedal and what you can really do with it. The name comes from the little image on the front of the PCB, which a friend of mine drew. And it's two guys sat at a dinner table or coffee table with a window behind them, and they're talking. And I don't know, when I saw it, I just thought, like, oh, this is funny. There's two guys or two people sat at a dinner table. And, what if like one of them was just really annoying? He's at a dinner party and, he's just talking over the top of the other person. They're both talking, they're both interesting, or they have something to say at least. And, but the other one's just that little bit more talkative and overbearing. And he's the person you kind of want to get away from at the dinner party, but you can't, party, whatever. Nobody goes to dinner parties nowadays. And the person you want to get away from, and you can't, because they're just always talking about whatever subject they've just read up on. And and that's sort of where it kind of combines with the two tremolos, right? The first one is the first person talking, nothing crazy about that, it's just a tremolo. But because they're in series, the second tremolo is more impactful, and therefore, in inverted commas, talks over the top of the other person, and you can no longer hear what the first one's doing, or at least you get glimmers of it. And as soon as you turn the depth up on that second tremolo, whatever you've put into it, a ducked signal, you're not hearing it so well, you're not hearing it so clearly. And it was a play on those two people sat at a coffee table at a party, having a chat, and one of them being really annoying and overbearing. Yeah, that's sort of where that came from my friend. And Yeah, and talking on the topic of topics, I have just been today laser engraving some new enclosures for these big talkers, and they will have a very interesting one-off exclusive design, some of them anyway. I think I'm going to do about 8 this time, and they are going to be on, I think I'm going to call them big readers. And the idea is, of course, that the big talker, whether they're like socially anxious or whatever they are, have been reading up on any given topic and are ready to blurt it all out in your face at the dinner party. And their chosen topic has been engraved onto the front of the enclosure. And so there we will bring it to an end, because that is my last PCB.